Well, Rio joins us now. This is a big project. This is filmed over 2 years, answering some really very important questions in the game. Why is football racist? Why are there no openly gay footballers in Premier League? Why is there an unknown and unreported mental health crisis in academy football? Some massive stuff. Episode 1 is racism. What is it about football that makes it appear to be such a racist sport?
Well, we have to look back a few months ago with the 3 black players that missed penalties for England in the Euros and the treatment that they got.
This is sustained abuse online.
Well, and some of the findings through shooting this documentary was you can go back 10 years. We had data companies go back 10 years on social media platforms and looking at the comments and all different forms of racial slurs, etc., that are still there, still on the platform for people to see. And in my time, you play 90 minutes and you kind of, there's banter, there's abuse at times. In the 90 minutes, you go home, that page is kind of closed for a bit, and then you re-enter the pitch again and it might open again. But now, we've got technology at your fingertips. It never goes off and it's there, but the social media companies don't seem to have the values, the will, the desire to want to stop this. Because if you put music on certain platforms, if you put videos from the Premier League, within minutes that will come off.
They take it down.
Copyright issues. So the technology's there for it to happen.
You couldn't post a picture of your cat the other day.
I tried to post a picture of the cat, and literally every time, I don't know what was wrong with it, but it literally kept taking it down within seconds. It was the weirdest thing. So I said the same thing. I was like, God, they can do it when they want to, can't they? Yeah. There has been some progress, but it seems so slow. It seems like there's a lot of determined minds behind this, like sort of humanity as a whole that goes, racism is wrong, and yet it's slow. Why is it so slow?
Because, unfortunately, what we found through filming this, and which was so informative for me as well, and for the viewers it will be the same, is that hysteria, conspiracy theories, all of this type of toxic behaviours online generates money for social media platforms. All of that engagement means more money is driven to the platforms. So the energy is not there to stop this, and that is evident for all to see. That's why the legislation trying to get that harms bill put through, to protect people, to protect players in the game. And that's a concern. You go into this tournament now, you've got to be worried about the players if something goes wrong. The black players, are they going to get abused again? I would argue that, yes, they will. So the harms bill is more important now than ever.
One of the other topics, the homophobia in sport. And as I said, you know, there are no openly gay footballers in the Premier League. And interesting, I mean, it couldn't be more timely for your documentary that we were watching the interview on the TV with German television. This is the FIFA World Cup ambassador and former footballer Khalid Salman said this to a German broadcaster.
They have to accept our rules here.
But in the law, homosexuality is forbidden.
That's haram. You know haram what's meaning?
Yes, haram.
Yeah, it's haram. So he will say for me, why are you doing it?
But do you think gay is haram?
It's haram. Because why is haram? I am not one big Muslim, but it's haram. Why? Because it's damage in the mind.
It's damage in the mind, they say, and the interview was then stopped. We know not by whom, assuming somebody from FIFA who jumped in there to shut him up. If you have that, and of course every country's different when it comes to their heritage and tradition and their rules, but to take football to that place, to shine a light there, what do you think of that?
I understand people's concerns, but at the same time, are we expecting cancel culture to carry over into every single aspect of, or every topic that we talk about? I think that you have to be in the room, you have to be present to try and shift the dial. I think if you're going to stay away from situations and topics, there's no way that you can help educate and help change. And that's what I say to people that say, so are you going to be going to the World Cup? Of course I'm going to go. I think anyone who watches these documentaries that I've done would know where I stand on these issues. But I think you cannot stand away from these situations if you want to help the conversation.
But if your documentary is looking at homophobia in football, and you look at that attitude, and any gay footballers that may be thinking, perhaps is the time now to come out, live your life, be your true self. Not that should even be a big thing anyway, it shouldn't matter. But currently it does, and it would be headlines. if you are looking at that sort of attitude within the game, how is that going to make it easier for a young footballer to think, do you know what, I'm going to be my true self?
Well, again, on the journey of filming this, I myself, I've used language that would be deemed disgraceful today, and I had to open up and...
This is in the Chris Moyles interview, yeah?
In the Chris, yeah, and I showed my sister this.
Yeah.
And my sister's openly gay, and her having to grow up listening to language used in our house, she would have been, and she was like, well, I'm going to come out to my family, and that's difficult. But obviously, as a family, you then have to be educated. You have to be willing to be educated, willing to change and look at the way that you behave and you use language, and allow yourself to feel vulnerable and be vulnerable in those situations. But this situation is here, and we have to be open. And I don't understand how people aren't. My stance is very clear on this topic, and that's why I thought it was very important to do this. And it wasn't about just shining a light on these topics, mental health, sexuality, and race in football. It's about bringing the whole football ecosystem together to have a unified approach with all of these topics, because at the moment, up until now, everything's been fragmented. All the different stakeholders in the game approach these topics separately, and you can't do anything when you're not unified.
Ria, someone like you who has such a platform, you really do use it for good. Like, even what you just said then, like being vulnerable, showing times when you've made mistakes, I think, particularly in the current climate, is extremely brave, because everybody's waiting to pile on to the next thing. Yeah. But that's what makes the difference, being brave enough to step out there and talk about these things. You know, you've got your foundation as well, using that platform for positive change. And that is why this week you were awarded your OBE. And was that just amazing? You must be very proud.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. You can see I was beaming, the smile there.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to take my wife, Kate, and my dad.
She looked beautiful, by the way. Yeah. She looked like she should have been in the royal family.
She tried to steal the show.
She looked gorgeous.
But no, it was a great moment. I mean, the great work that Prince William does as well, and for him to be handing that over was even more special. So yeah, it's good.
Well, keep doing that good work.
Thank
you.
Well deserved.
For you.
And this is tomorrow on Prime Video, Tipping Point. That's when it launches. Well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.